You're listening to Pitch Talks, bringing you the game.
Welcome to Pitch Talks, hosted by Mitch and Sam, as we aim to give you a leg up into what it's like starting your career into sport. From commentators and marketers to producers and directors, what you'll get with each episode is an individual who works within sports industry with a unique and compelling story to share, plus their top tips on how you can work in sport. Today we have a super episode in store, as we have the awesome opportunity to speak with Jon Dutton, currently the Chief Executive of the Rugby League World Cup 2021, but has also performed awesome roles from the PGA European Golf Tour, Manchester FA, and has run his own sports consultancy company.
Welcome to Pitch Talks, bringing you the game.
Jon, welcome to Pitch Talks. It's great to have you join us. How are you?
Hello Mitch, hello Sam. Thank you very much for the opportunity. It is my pleasure.
Before we start talking about your career, what was it about sport that made you want to work in the industry?
I think, Mitch, when I was growing up, I always wanted to be a professional athlete. I always wanted to be a rugby player. I think as I got into my teens, I found out I was neither good enough nor brave enough. So have taken the opportunity to be a sports administrator and have been incredibly lucky. But I have a huge passion for sport. My first choice sport is rugby league, and I'm incredibly privileged to be working in the job I am, but I love all sports, and I also see the difference that sport can make, and perhaps never more relevant than it is at this moment in time.
Going right back to the start, I sort of noticed that you studied sports management at university, which is very similar to a role that, or a course that I studied myself. So very interested sort of to get your view on how that shaped you as a person, and also whether you think going to university and studying a course like that is still as relevant now for sort of helping to open doors into a career in sport.
Yeah, I absolutely think it is, Sam. I mean, when I was growing up, and I will show my age now, it was in the first few years of GCSEs. It was the very first year that the PE A-level came into being, and I specifically chose the only college in my local area that wasn't that local to me to do a PE A-level, and then subsequently the degree was really important to me, the type of degree that I wanted to specialise in management rather than sports science. And I had the most wonderful 3 years of my life. It was a life experience. I live in Newcastle, which is a quite wonderful party city. I'm sure it's exactly the same today as it was 20 plus years ago. But it was about having that life experience and learning the tools of the trade, and many of which are relevant in my current role. So for my advice for anyone that gets the opportunity to go to university, and I appreciate it's tough at the moment learning virtually and not being able to have those rich social experiences, they will return, meeting people that I will be friends forever with, and having the experiences that were just incredible. So a wonderful time. I wish I could live it all over again.
This is Pitch Talks.
Throughout your career, you've worked some really senior titles, from the Chief Exec at the Manchester FA to the Tournament Director for the Ladbrokes Four Nations Tournament back in 2016. Was this always the plan for you once you came out of education to get into these types of positions within sport?
It was always the aspiration, Mitch. I always wanted to work in professional sport. Again, I was very lucky to get my first role, which was working on the European Golf Tour. I was, 22 years old. I got the opportunity to travel the world. We started the year in far-flung destinations, Dubai, Qatar, Thailand, Australia, and then essentially followed the sun on the tour, and it started in January and it ended in November. And what a wonderful experience. That then became more challenging because you were literally away from home the majority of the year. And whilst I learned the skills that I now have in event management, I also wanted to progress my career. So that really did set me up, and a huge opportunity. I remember the first Ryder Cup I worked on was in 1997. It was Tiger Woods' first Ryder Cup at Valderrama when it rained like nothing else, and Europe eventually were victorious in a slightly extended tournament. And just that occasion, I actually spent, I think it was about 2 months living in the south of Spain in preparation for the event, and helping managing the media scoring and providing all the different stats to TV in a high pressure environment. But that was just a brilliant experience that, you know, I'm such a privilege to be able to have.
So then, just building on that experience and what we've just talking about with working in numerous different senior positions, as we said at the start, you're now the chief exec of the Rugby League World Cup 2021. In this role, drawing on your experience from the PGA, European Golf and Manchester FA, how have those sort of different experiences helped you in your role today?
Oh, they've helped significantly. I mean, the first thing I would say about the projects I'm managing at the moment, it couldn't be much more challenging. I don't think anyone that's in any position of seniority that is working through trying to manage uncertainty with the pandemic, and that's the biggest issue for all of us. Everyone wants certainty. Everyone wants to be able to plan. We simply can't do that at this moment in time. But this is a really complex, it's a big project. I was there at the start. So I first started working on this project in November 2015. When we knocked on the door of UK government, asked for some significant funding, won the funding, had to put a bid together, won the bid, had to set a company up, and here we are today. So we've grown the team, we've put a governance structure in place with a quite superb board. I think you've previously talked to my chairman, Chris Brindley, and an awful lot more. And we've had to keep making progress as we've gone through. 12 months ago, we were at Buckingham Palace doing the first ever public draw for the Rugby League World Cup. And just to put that in context, the Rugby League World Cup, the men's trophy, is now 67 years old. And last year was the first time ever that we did a public draw, and that was with Prince Harry at the time, which was his last public media engagement. The eyes of the world were upon us and the media, and we delivered something really special. Of course, from January in 2020 to January in 2021, the world is a very, very different place. But being some of the things that I've learned through my career, being calm, being a planner, I'm a big reflector. We built out what I would describe as a brilliant team culture. Having the right people in the right roles is critically important. And also trying to have a little bit of fun as well. We spend an awful long time at work currently, home and work, the line gets a little bit blurred. So having some fun is really important. And the team that we've now got are all at different stages of their career. Some very young in the very first roles. We can talk about and explore our Innovation Academy and some of the intern opportunities we're providing, and some much more experienced, and then lots in between. And the slightly remarkable thing about the project we're working on at the moment, it has a start, it has a middle, it also has an end. So this certainly isn't a job for life, and it takes, I think, special people to accept that, give it their all, and be really hungry and ambitious to do the best and then go on to bigger and better things.
You're listening to Pitch Talks, bringing you the game.
I wanted to touch on the fact that you were also involved in working on the 2013 Rugby League World Cup. How, obviously, apart from, as you mentioned, the pandemic, how the preparation, admittedly, you're in a different role this time, but how the preparation from the last one to this one has been different?
Yeah, it's a good question, Sam. Radically different. So 2013 was the first time I think the Rugby League World Cup really grew up, where it was genuinely a global sporting event. And if you think back, 2012, the Olympic Games, the Paralympics had happened, and we were the next big event on the calendar in 2013. So incredible amount of pressure. A really small team. There were only 14 people working full-time on the event, a really small budget. And we were simply, unlike now, where we've got the opportunity to deliver a groundbreaking, trailblazing social impact program, we were focused on delivering the event. We had 21 venues across 4 countries, England, Wales, Ireland and France, delivering 28 games. And you reflect back and you think, actually, I'm not quite sure how we did that. But 74,000 people turned up to watch a game of rugby league at Old Trafford, not featuring the home nation. It was between the finals between Australia and New Zealand. And that in itself is remarkable. The TV audiences, the rest of the ticket sales, really outperformed any of our expectations. And that was really then the sort of philosophical question, Sam, at the end of it. If we got the chance to do the same again, would we want to do it in the same way? And the answer was no. We wanted to be more ambitious than ever before, and the opportunity we have in 2021. I've been working on this now. I'm in my 6th year. I worked on the World Cup in 2013 for 3 years, so an enormous amount of time. We've still got 10 months to go. And we have some funding behind us. We have a deal with the BBC where the BBC will show every minute of each of the 61 games, which will take us to a new audience. And more than anything, we've got the ability to do something that sport hasn't done before. So 2013 was amazing. I was involved in the 2017 Rugby League World Cup in Australia, New Zealand and Papua New Guinea, which, just thinking of the geography, was radically different again. And we've learned as we've gone. And indeed, myself and my team in 2019, when we were able, travelled extensively, and we went to see almost as many sporting events as was physically possible. We went to Japan to see the Rugby World Cup. We obviously had the great events here in England, the Cricket World Cup, the Netball World Cup, the World Road Race Cycling Championships, and so much more. Try and soak up all of that and learn from people, because I think the key thing, and this is very relevant to people going through university, you will never have all the answers, and having an insatiable appetite to learn from others, I think, is a real soft skill, and that's definitely something that we've had, and I want to learn every day, because there are ideas out there and people developing things that we once have thought of, and we can always learn.
You highlighted just then that at the time of recording, it's only 10 months to go now. So in your role as the chief exec, coming closer and closer to the event itself, what does a typical day look like for you?
Would it be too cliche to say there is no such thing as a typical day? Perhaps at the moment it involves. I'm a morning person, like getting up early in the morning, so it's a wander from the upstairs bedroom to the downstairs makeshift office. So something I'm sure everyone is experiencing at the moment. A lot of planning and a lot of focus right here, right now, on making sure we've got different scenario plans for the way that the world may change. As you say, at the time of recording, the environment is pretty incredible. I mean, the rate of people being admitted to hospital, the pressure on the NHS in the UK, what that looks like across the rest of the world is utterly incredible. And sometimes we've got to remind ourselves our event is really important to us. In the way of saving people's lives, it just really isn't important. So we've got to navigate through the next few months, and we do that by planning. A typical week for me would start off on Monday morning with my senior leadership team. It would end on a Friday with our collective team, and we're now up to about 40 people on the team, so that's grown quite significantly. And then also during the week is trying to find some time to think. It's very, very easy to fill our diaries with lots of meetings and be very busy. And our mantra is about we can be busy, but be busy being productive, and also to find some time for reflection. And that's something that I've certainly learned as I've gone through my career. Again,
as you picked up on, we previously spoke to your colleague Chris Brindley, MBE, in our first series. And he obviously mentioned about the challenges of the pandemic for organising such a massive tournament. And that was back in September 2020. And here we are now in 2021, and the world is still not quite right, shall we say. So how is this now still impacting your planning? And have you had a discussion with your team about any possible deadlines or rescheduling? Say, like, if we're at this point still by a couple of months to go, when do we start thinking about maybe having to put it back?
Yes, we have, and we think about that every day. So we've got a series of scenarios: a gold standard, a silver standard, and a bronze standard. I think everyone wants a date by which a key decision may be made, and we don't have that at the moment. We have some timelines that we're working towards. As I mentioned earlier, we've got a very significant amount of government funding, and government will play a critical part in our decision making. And the decision comes down simply to the business plan and the finances, the safety of the athletes, the safety of making sure that we can get people into venues to watch the tournament, and a few other factors thrown in as well. So it's complicated, and that's why just being calm, being rational, having a bit of time on our side, not much time, but a bit of time, enough time to take a really informed view. And that will probably be in spring this year. And our vision, really simple, is to stage the biggest and best ever Rugby League World Cup. If we can't do that this year, then obviously we'll consider the option of moving the tournament. But at the moment, we are fully focused on our gold standard. And this, we shouldn't underestimate. This is a transformative moment for the sport of rugby league. Everything we've talked about, selling hopefully 750,000 tickets, 61 games live on the BBC, having the men's, women's and wheelchair tournaments together for the first time ever, every athlete being treated with equality, and also a physical disability tournament that we've now added on as our fourth tournament, again, to make sure we have inclusivity at the forefront of our mind. And I'm sure Chris would have talked to you about being a values-led organisation. So when we come to the decision making, it's really simple and straightforward. We consider all of our finances and our business plan. We will make our decisions based on our values.
You're listening to Pitch Talks.
So far on Pitch Talks today, we've been chatting with Jon Dutton, Chief Executive of the Rugby League World Cup, from where his career started, looking back over his career to date on some of the key lessons he's learnt, and how Jon's current role at the Rugby League World Cup picks up on those experiences. So Jon, you really nicely just brought up about the equality and the social impact that your tournament is driving. You've done a lot of positive work, from supporting grassroots sport, being the tournament director of the 2010 World Blind Championships and the 2008 European Learning Disability Championships. Now there's a massive push, as we said, in social impact for the Rugby League World Cup. As you said, you're making a stand not only for what happens on the pitch, but also what happens off it. So can you tell us a little bit more, as a team, as a collective, and as a tournament, what you're planning on doing?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, Mitch, just to reflect on the 2010 World Blind Football Championships, which was a seminal moment in my career, working with blind football athletes, unbelievably talented, and staging something really special at the Royal National College for the Blind in Hereford. So that will live with me throughout my career. What are we doing at the moment? We're delivering the tournament with a purpose. So if you go back to what I said earlier about the tournament in 2013, it was exceptional and we delivered it to a really high standard, but it was about delivering the tournament. This is about delivering something much bigger than the tournament. So 61 games and creating amazing memories. But we have a social impact programme that we're now into our third year of delivery. We have thought long and hard about how we design our programme, and it's very much about making a positive impact on people's lives in a small way or maybe a more significant way. And we're working with our host towns and cities. We have 18 hosts across England of all different shapes and sizes. And we've designed our programme in three ways. The first is around our volunteer programme, which is called our Power Squad. We are currently on the search for volunteers. We've got about, I think, almost 10,000 people that have expressed an interest in wanting to help us, which is incredible. We probably need about 2,000 to actually come through the application process. But we're working with a social care provider, community integrated care, to make sure our volunteers are truly representative of the communities they serve and provide particularly opportunities for people with a learning disability. So that's one piece of the cake. The middle bit is our engagement program, and that's everything from a mental fitness program that we launched last January with Prince Harry. It is working our schools. We're delivering an international development program when we are able. We've visited already Brazil, Nigeria, Papua New Guinea, Jamaica, and many more. And there's a sort of soft power and diplomacy aspect to that. And then the final bit is the bit of funding that we receive from government to genuinely leave a lasting legacy, which is investment into capital facilities. And we have a sum of money, £10 million. We're trying to leverage all of the money. So for every pound we invest, we want someone to invest a pound as well. So actually that becomes £20 million, which is delivered into community rugby league when we've gone. And so far we're tracking really well. These are small grants and big transformational projects that are making a difference in local communities. So that's really special. I probably mentioned the word already about privilege. It is a privilege to be able to do this, but it's also the right thing, and it's something for future event organisers to really think about. Let's not just focus on delivering the event. Let's use the event as the leverage to deliver something that has societal benefits.
Yeah, sort of continuing along that theme, sort of around the work that you've done in the world of disability sport. The fact that the Wheelchair Rugby League World Cup, hopefully, it's going to be massive for Wheelchair Rugby League. The fact that it's only in its fourth World Cup, again with more teams than ever than competing for it. Did you personally have a big part to play in sort of that? All three coming together under one banner, or was that a team decision?
Yeah, certainly had a part to play, and that goes right back to the start. And perhaps some of the challenges at the start, Sam, is you're 6 years away from delivering something, and you have a vision, and you have to make some plans based on the vision. Of course, then the practical bits come along later. Can we afford it, and where we're going to stage it, and all the rest of it. And we've worked our way through that. But it was so critically important that we have the three blue ribboned events of International Rugby League, the men's tournament, which is, as I said, first played for in 1954, the women's tournament, which was played alongside the men in 2017 and was hugely successful, and then the wheelchair tournament. And the Wheelchair Rugby League is, when we talk about inclusivity, for me, it is the epitome of inclusivity. So both disabled and non-disabled athletes play together on the same court, and it's just a celebration of everything that's great about the game of rugby league. So what we want to do is we want to take that to the next level. We're going to play it in big venues. We're going to play the England games at the Copper Box Arena in London. We're going to play a final at the M&S Bank Arena, which is the Women's Netball World Cup in Liverpool. We've got some games in Sheffield. And with the exposure and visibility from the BBC coverage as well, we think that people will have never seen Wheelchair Rugby League before and will be completely impressed by what they see. But the physicality, the speed, and the athletes have some really interesting stories to tell them. Our ambassador is a chap called James Simpson, who has a story of incredible adversity that he has overcome. Served in the armed forces, triggered an IED when he was in Afghanistan, life-changing injuries, but he's now the number one advocate for Wheelchair Rugby League. And when people hear James's story, when they see him playing Wheelchair Rugby League, it's an incredibly, not just inspiring story, but James is an athlete, and we want to treat James in the same way that we would treat any of our other athletes, and really showcase their talents. And yeah, gosh, what a great opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and I'm actually personally looking forward to it myself, because I managed to get some tickets across all three different World Cups in the original ballot, and then actually noticed on one of your social media channels that the sale that was going on in December. But just to sort of touch on the ticketing front of it, when you're running a global event, how heavily do you rely, or how heavily have you relied this time on social media advertisement for sales? And are there any other channels that you have used that have been successful?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing to say, Sam, is the team have done a great job. So, we've got to start with a plan and a strategy and the big picture, and then we've become more tactical, and we've executed that, and the results have massively exceeded our expectations in 2020. And if you think about what we've all been through, we're asking people to make a pledge with some uncertainty, and some people who face financial hardship, and we've seen extraordinary results. So the channels we've used are all of the above. We have had quite a significant paid advertising campaign. We took out some TV advertising. We made a TV advert that went live towards the end of last year, and we'll continue with that. We take an insight-led approach. So we've done a lot of research. We did a lot of research before we set our pricing policies. And we've now done a lot of research about the people like yourself, Sam, that have bought the tickets, and making sure that our offers throughout are affordable and accessible. And we reach a new audience. You know, we want to deliver to the rugby league core community. Absolutely. We also want new people who may never have seen rugby league, or wheelchair rugby league, or women's rugby league, or men's rugby league in general, to come along and have a wonderful experience. And I think a World Cup has the opportunity to do that like never before. So yeah, we want to use this to do something quite special.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm probably in that sort of one of those demographics where I've seen rugby league before, but I've never seen one live at a game. So you can tick me off of that demographic if you want to. I want to sort of continue on that theme, and also hark back to a question earlier about the differences between this time and 2013, and how social media has changed the way that you guys have promoted the tournament, and whether you have seen a significant difference in the reach that you can get on social media?
Social media existed in 2013, but not like today, and not like some of the insight that you can get from how people interact. So measuring sentiment, but also the ability to really genuinely understand what customers want and then tailor the offers accordingly. The sort of reflection, I always go back to 2013 and talk about video on demand. And if you think of video on demand, it didn't exist. And now it's a key part of everyone's life, whether it's Amazon, Netflix, iPlayer, etc. So we've almost sort of sleptwalked into video on demand. And social media, I think, is something similar. So the way people use Facebook, TikTok coming in, and the way people use Instagram and Snapchat and the changes. So we just need to make sure we understand all of that, and we can offer the very best across our social media channels. Social media offers a voice. It offers us the ability to talk in a different way. So we are major global sporting tournament first, rugby league second, and that has presented an opportunity. And yeah, just being able to, again, have a bit of fun and not take ourselves too seriously. It's a fine line, but I think at the moment we're pretty much on the right side of the line.
This is Pitch Talks.
We've spoken a lot about what you do and what you have done, but looking back then, what have you loved most, or what do you love most about what you do?
I love meeting new people and having different experiences. I love challenge. I would describe myself as a complex problem solver. I love a challenge, and this event has certainly presented much of that. And learning, the insatiable appetite, the desire to learn is very strong. And one of the things we've all got to think about is the world was changing before the pandemic, and the pandemic will supercharge some of the change. So actually, as a leader, as people who are going through, whether you're starting university, going through the university, coming out of university, whether you're 5 years into your career, whether you're 20 odd years into your career like me, having contemporary knowledge is really, really important, and developing soft skills, emotional intelligence, complex problem solving, all of those different things will become increasingly important for future leaders. So that's why the ability to learn and talk to different people, different cultures, different environments, and that makes us all better people. And I have certainly benefited from that.
I think that's a really nice feed onto then our final question today, and that is ultimately for the future leaders. What advice would you give them who are perhaps looking to pursue a career within the sports management side of the industry?
My advice would be to follow your dreams, be relentless, and have that contemporary knowledge and change. Try and be in advance of the curve of the way the world is changing, rather than wait for the world to change and then adapt accordingly. But I think being relentless, it's hard. If you apply for 100 jobs and you get 100 rejections, it's very, very easy to get demoralized, but keep going and try and be positive and optimistic no matter how hard the circumstances are. And I think truly, if you follow your dreams, you will ultimately get there. Different people want different things. I always say I'm in a privileged position doing what I am doing and the experiences I've had, but there are many of those out there for many people, and there are many people that are much more talented than me that will have great opportunities in the future.
Jon, it's been great having you join us today, and like we said at the start, we really appreciate it, especially considering you have a global tournament to prepare for. So what you've been able to share with us today has been truly captivating, and I hope many people will agree that they've learned something today, whether it be personally or professionally. So once again, thank you for joining us on Pitch Talks today.
Thanks to both of you, my pleasure.
And all that leaves us to say is, if you've been listening to Pitch Talks and our guest Jon Dutton has really inspired you, we'd love to get you to sign up and listen to more of our podcasts across Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and all the others. So until next time, goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Bringing You the Game by Pitch Talks. For more information on our latest episodes, careers advice, or to even get involved as a guest, get in touch with the team at mitch@pitch-talks.com or send us a message on any of our social platforms. Thanks for tuning in. Bringing you the game. Pitch Talks.
All Pitch Talk content is copyright protected.
Pitch Talks.